Hi, everybody. Mary Brown here, aka Pterodactyl. Welcome to the Pterodactyl's Nest channel. I'm excited to share with you tonight a walkthrough and micro review of the Tarot of the Abyss by Anna Tourian. This came out in 2021 from US Games. It was an earlier independently produced version available on the author Anna Turian's website, I believe. And I know soon as US Games put out a version, it sold out immediately. So it took me a while to get this deck, but I'm so excited that I was able to finally get a copy. I actually found it on Amazon. If anybody else had the same issue, I'm sure there's copies there. I checked earlier and there were still some available. So if you tried to get it and couldn't get it and you still want to get it, that's where you can get it. So let's just look at the basics here real quick. This, comes in a sturdy lift top box here. It's well put together. And we'll look at the back of the box. You can see a couple illustrations of a couple of the cards, and let's see what it says on the back here. Tarot experiences begin as shapeless and void as the abyss. As we evolve and develop our relationship with the cards, we move from dark chaos to an ordered, illuminated cosmos. In both the major and minor arcana, Anna Turian has created a beautifully nuanced tarot deck designed to mirror the journey of the soul through the universe. She has given particular attention to creating memorable characters in the court cards that skillfully guide us through our progression of knowledge. It includes 80 card deck with 2 alternate cards and a 148-page guidebook. So let's go ahead and find out about those alternate cards and take a look at the guidebook first, and then we'll do a walkthrough of the cards. So, the guidebook, I think that's the Tower card on the front of the guidebook. I love these illustrations in here. Has an introduction. She talks about her journey, making the deck and, with tarot and everything. I like the way that she writes things in here, pays a lot of attention to the elements in the court cards, and she sees them as a progression. Like she says, the page is the youngest of the court cards and associated with youth, the idea of the novice. He's the individual who is just starting out on his journey and has much to learn. The knight has progressed to a more mature period and is more capable of taking a more active role, although he still has not gained full knowledge or reached his full elemental potential. The queen holds the qualities of one who is now adept at governing, but her role is gentler. And lastly, the king is the epitome of the element he represents, wielding the power with full authority and understanding. It's like a progressive view of the court cards. That's modern. A few other authors, and I know some readers that view the court cards that way too. Who was it recently? Oh, Lisa Robertson with her Cirque du Tarot deck. She talked about how she sees them as a progression from the page to the king. It's like a personal development kind of thing, and it works. And then Anna in this book goes on about this deck and what's the difference. So yeah, we heard it's an 80 card deck instead of the standard 78. So what is different? She says, even though Tarot of the Abyss is a deck based on the Rider-Waite-Smith system, I deliberately introduced a few slight modifications. These changes emerged based on a number of discussions with readers, as well as my own present understanding of the cards. Within this deck, you will find a few alternative cards from which to choose, best specifically for the Three of Swords and the Ten of Swords. So there's just an extra Three of Swords and an extra Ten of Swords in this deck. Other modifications include the naming of several cards within the major arcana. The traditional title, the Hierophant, has been changed to the Wise One. Instead of Judgment, I substituted Awakening. The Hanged Man has now become the Hanged One. Okay, so we'll look at those alternate cards a bit, but the main book, the bulk of the book, is focused on card meanings. And with the major arcana, she has about a page and a half per card, which is great. She's not just relying on keywords; she's really kind of, giving you a really, detailed explanation for each card, which is nice. And for the minors, it's about a page per card, and then extra with the 3 and 10 of swords that have alternate cards. And then I thought this was interesting. She talks about the settings for each of the suits. And for the suits, she starts off with the swords in the book, and I'm trying to find where she talks about the setting of the suits, because I thought that was, really kind of interesting, and just, kind of cool that she goes into detail about that. So for the court card settings in the suit of swords, all the court cards in the suit of swords are presented as existing within a common setting, the maze of the mind. It's my hope that this setting will accurately depict the process of the mind in its quest for knowledge. In this case, the page, knight, queen, and king are all actively engaged in their goal of investigating and discovering greater knowledge, as represented by the orbs of light that is common to all the cards. Their missions are different, yet always complementary. They seek ever more direct relationship with the light that illuminates and guides their footsteps through the maze. Even though they are separate in their missions, they do not act alone. So that's interesting. And then what is the setting for the wands? I found that fascinating. And so the court card setting on the suit of wands, as with all things fire, has a dual nature. In its most constructive sense, it literally lights and heats our world, forming the basis for every food chain on earth. If it were not for the fiery orb we call the sun, life itself would cease to exist. On the other hand, if fire is not respected and controlled, it quickly becomes a destructive force that consumes everything in its path. As an element, fire fuels our imagination with inspiration. It is an active element and the potential of expansion of if it is fed. In the form of a bonfire here on earth, fire nourishes our bodies and souls. I chose the idea of tending a bonfire in a clearing in the wands as the main theme for the court cards. Okay, so we'll see, they all have a bonfire, and then with the cups, the setting is, for the common setting chosen for the court cards for the cups is a ship at sea. And then finally for the pentacles, let's see, she's placed all the court cards in a mountainous setting. So that's interesting, that's kind of a cool thing. So yeah, most of the book is like these explanations, including the settings explanations, which not everybody gives us that. So that's really cool to know that. She talks about reading the cards, and she walks you through her own process, and even like how to clear the deck. She shares a chant to recite that you're free to use, and talking about how she picks spreads and shuffles and states the question. So all of this is really helpful information, especially if you're a beginning reader and may not have thought about a lot of the things that she shares here. It's really terrific. I'm sorry, moving my camera. I gotta get that. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. And then she has some spreads that she shares. Just she talks about the daily draw spread, and then she shares a six card spread there. That's pretty cool. It's really simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those positions. The first position, three on the top, four on the bottom. First position is what do I know of the problem at hand? Second, what am I unaware of presently? And 3, what do I secretly wish? And then on the bottom 3, the fourth card is what will the future bring? The fifth card, what shall be revealed? And the sixth card, what will I learn from this? So it's kind of nice to see a spread that doesn't actually end with like the future position. It comes up in 4. It ends with what will I learn from this? So I kind of like how that is different. And then she has the Abyss spread, a 13 card spread that she created expressly for this deck, which is very cool. And it tells you a little bit about her. She's an artist, illustrator, art director. After years of working in a creative agency, she was called back to sculpting and illustrating. She's a creator of multiple decks that have gained international acclaim, such as the Hidden Waters Tarot, Oracle of Echoes, Claire de Lune, Lenormand, and the illustrations for Bonestone and Earthflesh Tarot. And you can reach her at annaturianart.com. Okay, so that's a book. Let's look at these cards. I've flipped through this a few times just looking at it, and I'm so impressed. But so just the basics here. Here's the back design, and it does, it's fully reversible for people that like to do reversals, so that's great. Um, and the cards are kind of a glossy laminated finish. Not too terrible. They weren't sticky at all. They didn't stick together. Cardstock, sturdy but flexible, which is great, especially if you riffle shuffle. And again, this is the US Games mass-produced version of this deck. Here is the full card. You can get a good look at that. I love these illustrations of hers. So the Fool, and it's based on the Rider-Waite-Smith. You don't see, the imagery is very, very different from the standard Rider-Waite-Smith, but I think it carries the essence of it in a lot of ways, especially with the Fool. That's fine. And then the High Priestess, I love that with the yin and yang symbol, the High Priestess. Okay. And next up we have the Magician card. Get a good look at that. This is gorgeous. Sorry, my doggy Eiffel is shaking around, making a lot of noise. The Empress. And the Emperor, that's the image that you see on the cover of the box. And this is one of the ones that she renamed. This is the Hierophant that she calls the Wise One. It's like a shaman being depicted there. And the Lover's card with those two trees intertwined like that. And the Chariot. Instead of driving a chariot with a horse, it's got a big bird going over the ocean there. And she's still, holding the reins and stuff. I love that. I love the hair swirling in the wind, and it's really kind of a cool concept for the Chariot card. The Lion in the Strength card. I love that. I love that. I mean, she is such a talented lady. These illustrations are great. This is a hermit. Wheel of Fortune, Justice, which I really like this take on the Justice card. There's just something about it that, I don't know, she captures something with the expression there. You know, it's just that look in the eye, you know. It's almost like, you know, is this someone who's like, you know, looking on, you know, often, you know, that whole justice is blind or whatever. I like the fact that this justice is staring you right in the eye. You know, there's something about that. Um, Maybe, you know, and maybe we're past the time when justice needs to be blind, because it hasn't always worked out so great. The Hanged One. This is another one that's renamed here. You know, and I do like the way that she does animals in this deck. I wonder if she has done an animal deck. I should do some more research, right? And look. And the Death card. You know, so we don't have, you know, we don't have a lot of the classic symbolism, but I feel like emotionally the concepts get across. And the Temperance card. So there, you know, we see the two vessels in the water, you know, going back and forth, you know, that sort of exchange there. So, you know, that works for Temperance, definitely. I just I just love the kind of fresh take on these cards. The Devil card. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. What else? The Tower. That was on the cover of the book. The Star card. Oops, I love the Star card. And the Moon. Interesting take on the Moon. The Sun. The Celestials. And then the Awakening. This is another one that she renamed. You know, Judgment instead of Judgment is the Awakening. And then the World card. And this is really, really fresh, modern, different take on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and yet I think it really works. I feel like beginners could use this. I mean, with the help of the book, which has so much detail in it, I don't think, whoops, I don't think people are going to get too lost. I think you could really use this. I mean, hey, you know, if you're just starting out with tarot, we're getting into the minor arcana now. Here's the Ace of Wands. That's just so beautiful. This deck is yummy. I have a feeling I'm going to be working with this a lot. The Two of Wands. Yeah, I think if if you're like brand new to tarot and you just love the artwork in this deck, you know, go ahead and get it. Grab a beginner deck, or just you know what's a good deck for beginners? Really, really, really. And I did a video of it in my deck reviews playlist. The Apprentice Tarot. And that was something US Games put out, I think, last year as well. I love that deck for beginners. I think it's so helpful. I would get a copy of that and a copy of this, you know, if you're just starting out. Four of Wands, you know, and you see them she's blowing out the candles of the cake. So you still have that sense of celebration with the Four of Wands there. You know, so there's hints at it, you know, in different ways. Hints at the Rider-Waite-Smith imagery. And with the Five of Wands, instead of, a mock battle or, guys trying to put up a tent, right? Is the joke. We have two birds here. You know, and they're holding the wands in their beak. I think that's pretty cool. And 6 of Wands. It's like taking a bow, getting all that attention. 7 of Wands. I love the perspective of that. Having the higher ground. 8 of Wands. And the 9 of Wands. 10 of Wands. I like that we see the 10 of Wands from the front. Instead, usually we see the person, from the back view. And now we get into some of these court cards. So there's the Page of Wands and, the idea of like, tending a bonfire, I guess, like making a fire for the Page. And then we go into the Knight. And the Knight, it's interesting, the Knight doesn't have a horse, which is fine, I guess. Not all the knights in every deck has to have a horse. Here's the Queen of Wands. She's tending the fire, and then let me guess, we get to the King of Wands and it's like fully ablaze. So again, that idea of progression through the court cards. Yeah, it's interesting. Not everybody's going to subscribe to that, and that's okay. You can, this is a deck you can use regardless of what your method of reading tarot is. I think, if you're used to working with standard Rider-Waite-Smith imagery and you're just attracted to, you have your own sense of what the cards mean and stuff, that's fine too. And we get into the cup suit with the Ace of Cups. I love the water. In this, I love the sense of movement and flow with the water. Oops. Let me clean this up a little. And there we have the 2 of Cups. I think that's beautiful. And the 3 of Cups. And I like that. You see, instead of 3 people, you see 2, and then there's a third one that's with the outstretched cup. This is a cool way to do it. The 4 of Cups. And the 5. Very expressive. Very expressive. Yeah, I think this is a good deck for intuitive readers. Because I feel like it really conveys like emotion as well. I love the 6 of Cups. That's a card we often associate with, memory and nostalgia, even childhood or whatever. And I love that, you see it taking place in the mind, literally in his head. Even though it's cups and you have the waterfall in the background, I think that's just lovely. And the 7 of Cups, her head is literally in the clouds. The cups are below her. How usually the cups are what's in the air. So I think that is just a very creative way of looking at the 7 of Cups. The 8 of Cups. It's like I'm moving on. 9 of Cups. And the 10 of Cups. And we get into the court cards here. Here we go with the Page of Cups. Whoops, I'm throwing cards around here. The Knight of Cups again. No horse. No horse. Oops. The Queen of Cups. I love that Queen of Cups. And the King of Cups. That's just so gorgeous. Okay, and then moving on to the sword suits. And that's where we'll look at those alternative cards. There's the Ace of Swords. The Two of Swords. Look at that. That's so fascinating. Like with the blank face and then the two masks off to the side and the swords crossed but laying down with their knees on top of it. That's fascinating. It's a lot you can kind of think about with that. And then here we have the Three Swords. Now this is like her traditional version of the Three of Swords. Okay. You know, get that sense of heartbreak. And then this is the non-traditional one, and this is more, she said, based on the like the numerological meaning there, and it's like three swords sticking out of a book. So it's definitely more about the mind going on and knowledge sinking, you know, rather than heartbreak that we see in the traditional version. And then here we have the Four of Swords, the Five of Swords, Six of Swords. I love that. I love the way she draws like birds, especially, and people, and background, and oceans, and waterfalls, and everything. Seven of Swords, the Eight of Swords. I mean, it's just like powerful imagery. Yeah, it's not traditional imagery, but my goodness, this deck is going to be wild to read with. I haven't read with it yet. I'm going to do this walkthrough so I can start using it. There's the Nine of Swords and the Ten of Swords. So again, this is the other one that has an alternative to it, and this is like the traditional version there with the swords, you know, and the person, you know, piercing the person, and that fellow walking past, and the birds in the air. So there is a lot of symbolism to work with here. Here, I love this. This is the alternative Ten of Swords card. And you have like this, you know, kind of wise elder, you know, locking eyes with, you know, his totem animal, the owl there. You know, it's like when you reach the 10, you've reached a certain level of wisdom, right? I love that. I love it. And then we have the Page of Swords. There's that orb above the head of the Page of Swords there. You know, and here is the Knight. Again, no horse, no horse. And the Queen of Swords. And like these ones with characters in them are so expressive. I know, that's why I think it would be really good for intuitive readers. Here's the King of Swords. Okay, moving on to the final suit, the Ace of Pentacles there. And we have the Two of Pentacles. I think this is an interesting Two of Pentacles. Three of Pentacles, you know, so that idea of partnership and working together, I like, you know, you see all the hands doing it, you know, I do like that. And the Four of Pentacles, this is kind of, you know, this is like almost like a real traditional Four of Pentacles, but gorgeous, just gorgeous. Five of Pentacles, this blows my mind. It's like, I feel like I'm reading a book, you know, or something. It's like so much detail, and like really you just feel like the moment happening there. Six of Pentacles. Seven of Pentacles. And the Eight of Pentacles. Nine of Pentacles. I love this Nine of Pentacles. And the Ten of Pentacles is so interesting. Really different. Let me look at that, because that is such a very different Ten of Pentacles. And let's see what she says about that. You know, what is that about? It's so very different. Looking in the book here, 2 generations draw together with a simple handshake. This gesture transcends time and unites them in the passage of knowledge and wisdom. An embrace that offers counsel and protection. A spiral staircase winds its way from the older hand to the younger one, communicating the many lessons learned. The younger hand bears the fruitful tree from the Ace of Pentacles, while its roots reach back to the wizened hand of the older generation. What began so long ago as a seed has now bloomed and borne fruit. The Ten of Pentacles has at its core the concept of legacy and the impenetrable familial tie that binds. Therefore, when it appears in your reading, it indicates a renewed focus on these values at that time. The heritage of wisdom is our most valuable gift from our ancestors, sustaining us through times of trial and adversity, just as what was passed down to you either directly through your family line or sometimes through your extended family of friends and respected elders, so too must you pass down what you've learned along the spiral staircase to the next generation. Okay, I mean, you sold me. That is really cool, now that I know what's going on. But yeah, okay, I dig that. I totally dig that. And then finally, the court cards. In the Pentacles, there's the Page. Pentacles there. And, oh, wow, there's a horse. Yay! I love horses. And look. Aw. Yeah, the mountains in the background, but that's gorgeous. I love that. Knight of Pentacles. He's off the horse. You do get that idea that the knight's moving so slowly. Queen of Pentacles in the standard Rider-Waite-Smith. Knight of Pentacles horse always looks like it's at a standstill. Look at that queen. I love that Queen of Pentacles. And then the last card, the King of Pentacles. Oh, gorgeous. Wow. Wow, what a beautiful deck. I can't wait to start working with it. I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough. Again, this is Tarot of the Abyss by Tourian. This is the mass-produced U.S. Games version that came out in 2021. We're going to be having Tourian on the Tarot Today radio show on April 23rd. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to see what she has to share about this deck, and I guess all the other decks that she's done too. I've got to ask her if she's done an animal deck, or maybe I should just find out before I interview her. Anyways, I'll put a link to our blog talk channel so you can tune in to that on April 23rd. And have a good day, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. Like the video, please, if you did like it, and subscribe, because there's going to be a whole bunch more videos. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.